Iron Lung is the scariest game that I've played in a very long time. And that's saying something because my favorite genre is horror. If you actually take the time to look at my channel, you'll see that most of my videos are based on some form of horror license. Also, this obsession does also have an unfortunate side effect, which is that I'm no longer able to fear what's depicted on screen. Every sequence, regardless if I'm being chased by a maniac, dismembered by my possessed girlfriend, or forced to avoid dangerous encounters, it no longer triggers the desired emotional response because I've already experienced a version of it in another title. But after playing Iron Lung, I knew that I had to make a video on it immediately after I finished it. The reason its horror is so effective is because it uses its minimalistic nature to make your imagination run wild. It therefore proceeds to limit your grip over the situation while making you vulnerable at every turn. You feel like you're at the mercy of the elements and that it's only a matter of time before things get worse. This Dissecting the Walk experience will encompass all of those traits and more as I attempt to translate the experience of actually playing it to you in video format. This therefore means that we're going to go over the story, all of its lore, and even cover all the achievements. We'll also analyze its gameplay and talk how, when paired with its stellar sound design, does it create an extremely immersive and unique experience. Afterwards, we're going to talk about the dev himself and what inspired him to make the game, while interjecting a bunch of cool and fun facts along the way. Lastly, we'll be ending this excursion by talking about the Markiplier movie just to see how it compares to the original source material. Obviously, timestamps all over the video in case you're interested in a specific part. Word of warning, this is one of those games that is best experienced with no prior knowledge, meaning that the more you know, the less scary and effective it will be as a whole. I therefore highly recommend you to pause this video, play the game, and then come back once you have experienced it. However, if you have and you just want to reminisce, or you're not actually interested in playing it but you still want the overall experience, this video is made for you. So please do us both a favor and close the lights, put on your headbuds, and please make yourself comfortable. Also, if I do end up entertaining you at some point throughout the video, please do consider liking and subscribing. It might be a few seconds for you, but for me, genuinely, it really means the world. I would really love it if I can even get a single subscriber from after watching this video. That would be sincerely really cool. Lastly, this video does contain coarse language, as I believe it'll make the overall experience more authentic. Viewer's discretion is obviously advised. Now, please, sit down, make yourself comfortable, grab yourself something to drink as always, as I welcome you down the claustrophobic depths that is the Moon AT5. Decades ago, every known star and habitable planet vanished, leaving only those who were on space stations and starships. This event became known as the Quiet Rapture. With supplies dwindling and infrastructure crumbling, survivors are searching for any trace of natural resources in a universe of barren moons, lit only by the ghost light of vanished stars. One such moon holds a strange anomaly, an ocean of blood. You are a convict, tasked with exploring this anomaly in a makeshift submarine nicknamed the Iron Lung. It was not designed for this depth, so you will be wielded inside and the forward window will be closed. There was no time for training. If successful, you earn your freedom.
Beginning your descent. Cruising depth in roughly 40 seconds. Stand by. I'm seeing some voltage irregularities in the instruments, so keep an eye out for sparks or flames or anything like that. Approaching maximum depth. The hole's feeling it, but it's still holding strong. Closing porthole shielding. We're starting to lose rate of signal. depth soon, so resting and be careful. You're on your own.
Dark, rusted, cramped. Those are the words that best describe our metal enclosure. Its walls are formed from an amalgamation of corroded metal sheets, which seem to only be held together by the sturdy oxygen pipes. Combined with the fact that our only window has been permanently shut, it feels like we're one accident away from contributing to the sea of horrors. Even so, I'm not sure that's a problem, judging only by the deafening sounds that surround us. Our only embrace comes from this singular light source. Caged and glowing, it's a speck in what seems like a red sea of death. What a beautiful metaphor. But okay, enough of that. Let's actually see what we're up against here. Behind us, there's a computer on our right that hasn't been updated in a very long time. Next is a highlighted rectangle which, once interacted with, generates a sound that projects something onto the adjacent wall? Like, what am I even looking at here? Is it a distorted finger? Or maybe algae? I have absolutely no idea. The front of the submarine is jam-packed with information. Around the barricaded aperture, we have a depth meter, a pressure meter, and an oxygen meter. Below it are a bunch of buttons that, once pressed, raises and lowers the numbers shown on the associated label. On the top left of the screen, we can see our control schematics. Pressing tab presents us with a map of sorts. Hovering our mouse over one of the dots shows us 3 coordinates. That's all well and good, but that doesn't explain the only thing that really matters right now. Where the hell am I? Oh fuck, is it actually missing information? What the hell happened that was so important that no one took the time to both train us or verify our goddamn equipment? Okay, calm down, deep breaths. Humanity needs whatever's on those coordinates, okay? Let's just move on and earn our freedom. The last button we can press opens up our mission briefing. Here's what's written on it. 2 weeks ago, we conducted an exploration of Moon AT5 for the first time since the Quiet Rapture, leading to the discovery of a fourth blood ocean. A trench beneath the ocean's surface has revealed points of interest. Your task is to photograph these points of interest with the SM-13's forward camera. Photos must be taken within 2 units of the specified position and 10 degrees of the specified angle. You can also use the camera to help with navigation. Only photos taken at a specified point of interest will be saved. Since you can't navigate by sight, pay close attention to your coordinates and consult the map. The proximity indicators next to the sub controls will trigger if you're getting close to an obstacle. Good luck. Okay, let's summarize all of this in a way that's easier to understand. Our goal is to visit all 10 predefined points of interest before we call for rescue. To do so, we'll have to constantly track our location by using the coordinates shown on the dashboard while doing a mental note on the map. X represents the horizontal axle, while the Y represents the vertical. There's also an A category, which we can deduce as being the third combination of numbers found on the bottom left. After squinting at the screen for a few seconds, we can conclude that we're currently located somewhere around here. By that logic, all we should have to do is go upwards on the Y-axle until we hit the 200 mark. Then, turn right while slowly dropping altitude. Easy peasy. If the arrow on the top left points towards the front of the vehicle, then we should already be facing the right direction. Let's just press the button and hope for the best, I guess. Man, I hate how this sounds. Having to constantly concentrate on the map while the ship hums is an ear sore. It's not enough that I can't see, but I also have to go deaf as well? Nope, I take it back. I genuinely wish I was deaf. This is the fucking worst. I really hope this is just one of those sounds that the ship makes and nothing else. Speaking of which, weird engine noises are the least of our worries. Every time that the sub gets near a physical object, a warning appears, represented by both a yellow dot and a really annoying sound. The closer we get to an obstacle, the faster both will activate. On one hand, it's a simple but effective system that instantly updates the player on his whereabouts, showing what we need to avoid in real time to stay on course. On the other hand, it adds even more pressure to the already overstimulated senses. It's aggressive and irritating, to the point that it makes me just want to bash my vehicle into it and end my suffering once and for all. Somehow, with a bit of luck and patience, we finally get to the first point of the map. We verify the numbers one last time and press the big flashing button. It looks like... I don't even know, honestly. I can't believe that I'm risking my life for this. How is this picture even gonna be useful back home? Okay, 9 more to go. Let's just get this over with. The next coordinate isn't that far, so let's concentrate on that and hope that it proves to be more interesting. Once there, we verify the coordinates and proceed to take the picture. That does kind of look similar to the first, but I don't know. It doesn't actually help me understand what I'm supposedly looking at. Getting to the third anomaly is going to be a challenge because if what the map shows is accurate, it's going to be one hell of a squeeze. Actually, no, I take it back. Look at the paths leading to the 6th, 8th, and 10th anomaly. Man, I hope that the sub will fit. Logically, it should, as this is a video game, but still. With how poorly designed the map is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's an incomplete scan of the depths. For example, there are 2 paths leading to our current objective. But, because the upper path is covered in static, does that mean that the path is obstructed? Same applies to the area next to the anomaly. You know, it would have been easier if I could actually see what's outside, but no! They decided that sending me in this bargain bin U-boat was adequate for the job. Needless to say, we'll be taking a clearer path, so let's go to, shall we say, 320 and 310? Okay, so far so good. Let's rotate the ship and head upwards.
Oxygen notification.
Shit! Why did they send me here with a sub that's clearly wasn't designed for this? This is absolutely insane, and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, anomaly number 3. Please be worth my time. Whoa, that's different, but cool in a unique way. I don't know how it would be useful, but I'm happy I saw it nonetheless. Let's go to the next one. Speaking of which, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm really having a hard time mapping the controls in my head. In theory, it should be a walk in the park. Left and right are represented by the X's, while up and down are represented by the letter Y. All I have to do is rotate the arrow in the direction that I need it to face, and then press the appropriate arrow. Sounds simple enough, but I don't know. I keep second guessing the numbers or mixing them up, which constantly forces me to reopen the map and reassess the situation. Then, once I get tired of the whole process, I commit to a direction and watch as the numbers fluctuate. It's very tiresome for sure, but at least there are also calmer moments like these where I get to enjoy the little things, you know? But of course, those moments never last long. At least cross-correcting the ship isn't that hard to do. We just have to rotate the front and hope to God that... What the fuck was that? Where is it? Oh man, that's a lot of air. Shit, maybe turning the wheel would... No. I have to go steer the ship ASAP. Fuck, I'm starting to believe that the whole wailing noise isn't coming from the vessel. It's too random and distant. It's almost as if... What just happened? You saw that, right? Yeah, no, don't care. Don't want to know either. Let's just keep moving, okay? Okay, we're at the right coordinates. Let's see what awaits us this time. Okay, another random shape. You know what? I'll stop expecting anything interesting to appear by this point. Let's just open the map and see where... Wait a minute. Go back. Oh god. I need to leave. I need to get out of here right this instant. Okay, I think we lost it. Talk about a cool jump scare. The dev teased the creature in the sound design. Then he hinted that something was near before subtly making it appear in the next picture. Actually, it was so unceremonious that I actually missed the detail on my first playthrough. It's tucked into the corner and, with the image being as imprecise as it is, I mistook it for distortion. Really cool and a really nice way of adding tension to... Whoa. That must be huge if it was picked up by the preliminary scans. Honestly, I'm thrilled and horrified all at once. Thank God this is a video game and not the real deal. You know, the other thing that I really love about this game is how it likes to mess with your expectations. The first two pictures were as uninteresting as they get. They're composed of a few basic shapes that don't leave much to the imagination. More importantly, it creates a pattern and therefore an expectation in the player. We then expect that the third one would be the same, and it kind of is. Granted, I like both the pattern and the shapes way more, but the overall design is still very familiar. Then, boom, we get the worst picture so far, which is only saved by the horrific reveal. What's also interesting is that, if you're like me and you actually miss the creature, it will still work because it concludes the pattern only to subvert it with the skeleton. Regardless of how you put it, this is the exact moment where the game starts revealing its true colors. Before this point, your anxiety was fostered by your imagination. It's therefore only as scary as the sum of both your level of disbelief and denial. No direct threat was ever presented, so you could always shrug it off as paranoia. Now, you get a glimpse at the thing stalking you, while getting a sense of scale from the skeleton. That is, if it's actually his. No. I don't want to think about it. Let's just move on, okay? Arriving at the sixth anomaly, I sincerely don't know what to expect. Logically, it should be another bland picture, seeing as it would be to the dev's advantage if he lowered the tension only to then raise it up again at a later point. What am I even looking at? If I didn't know any better, I would say this is... a submerged building? How is that even possible? I thought I was exploring uncharted territory, so how is there a building facade integrated into the wall? Kind of reminds me of the H.P. Lovecraft story called The Temple. No spoilers in case you haven't read it. Also, do check out the manga if you haven't already. The art style alone makes it worth the read. Back to Iron Lung, I think this instance encapsulates well the main aspect that I find lacking in the game. Other than with the opening cutscene, the game won't progress the narrative until you've actually rolled the credits. It's therefore easy to presume that everything is left to interpretation, meaning that what you've experienced so far is the extent of its world design. However, that's not entirely true. The game does contain lore. It's just mostly locked off inside the computer in the back, which, itself, only works when the player prompts keywords into its search engine. But because I didn't know what to search for, and as its inclusion has no bearing on gameplay, I ended up forgetting about it until my second playthrough. For those reasons, I haven't brought it up until now and will continue to ignore its existence until we finish the game. Fun fact, I actually have a decent bone collection at home. I find them quite cool and a fine addition to any terrarium or horror decoration. Nothing of this size though, but who knows, maybe one day. Speaking of seeing, where the hell are we supposed to go now? The only thing that makes sense to me would be the path on the left, as everything else is clearly defined. There's also this other path below, which seems to connect the third anomaly with the currently unexplored one found just above it. It does look feasible, but I don't know, like, my intuition tells me that I should go for the first option. Plus, it's a lot closer to our current position, so we might as well just go there first before deviating if necessary. Fuck! Ugh. We gotta hurry. Okay, we're here. Let's just rotate the ship and head forward. Fingers crossed. Huh, so there is a path here after all. This means that whatever the two dots are made of, it obstructed the scan. Let's take a picture and see what it is. Wait, a brick wall? I think this proves it. The picture of the building wasn't all that clear, so it's entirely possible that my assessment was wrong, but this? This is something else. Funny how this game manages to get me intrigued about a random brick wall. Kind of funny, not gonna lie. We then push forward and exit the tunnel. Now, all we have to do is collect the last 3 pictures before we're summoned back up. That shouldn't be too hard, as long as we don't encounter the monster again and the sub doesn't just implode from the pressure. Wait a minute. What's that noise? Oh shit! Oh shit, 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 shit! Shit! What am I supposed to do? Nothing seems to be interactable. Fire extinguisher! Fire extinguisher! Perfect, perfect. Let's go. Why is this thing working? Jesus Christ! Do your fucking job! Come on! Oh. Okay, okay. It's fine. We figured it out. I have no idea what caused the fire, but it doesn't seem like it caused any permanent damage. The oxygen level also doesn't seem like it was affected, so all things considered, this could have been way worse. Wait a minute. Wasn't there a piece of paper on the floor when the fire started? Nice. It survived the fire. Let's read what it says. This is not an expedition. It is an execution. When they put you in here, they don't want you to... And even if you do, and even if they keep their promises, what freedom waits for you? A few dying ships in a sea of dead stars? If there is still hope, it lies beyond the veil. Hope in this void is as illusionary as the starlight. I will choose to breathe my last breath here at the bottom of an ocean, unseen, unheard, and uncontrolled. They will get their execution. I will get my freedom. Check. 2 more to go. You know, I didn't want to acknowledge it, but whoever wrote the letter is right. How is me photographing remnants of life going to help us get our planet back? How is it going to help humanity survive? How is it going to get me out of this situation? The fact that they lied to me being the first one down here isn't what's bothering me. It's that it all seems so futile. Nothing good can come out of this, so it's best to just stay put and accept reality. Dying in this cage or in the one above doesn't really make a difference in the end, so why am I still pushing forward? I guess, in a way, I just don't want to die. Even if living conditions will only get dire, I would much rather end my life looking upwards towards the empty cosmos than locked up inside an ugly rusted tomb sinking to the bottom of an endless sea of blood. I know it might not make a lot of sense, but I just don't want to spend another second down here, let alone eternity. That's weird. Why are the controls distorting? And why is there a humming sound that gets louder as I get near the objective? Curious. We still haven't encountered anything like this before. I wonder what it could be. Wow, I love how the achievement doesn't even help me understand what it is. You know, When they said that I had to photograph a bunch of anomalies, this is more in line with what I was expecting. Anyways, let's leave before he breaks the sub or something else. Wait, what just happened? The scans didn't show that I hit something, so I don't get it. What made the dots disappear? Actually, I don't know how, but it seems like our coordinates changed. The 2 dots represented sidewalls of the tunnel, so... Wait a minute. How are we now here? It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what? I'm not complaining, okay? I don't get it, but it saved me the hassle of navigating through the tight opening, so I guess that's a win? Speaking of which, one more and we're out of here. That's weird. You should have warned me before I got this close. I don't get it. Why aren't I getting away from it? It's almost as if... Oh shit. Let's rotate the U-boat and see what we're facing, I guess. What the... What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Fuck, it hit us. It fucking damaged the sub. Shit. Shit. This is really bad. This is really bad. Why did it have to happen now when we're so close to getting the hell out of here? Jesus. Wait. Oh no. Oh no. We're sinking. This is just getting worse.
Oxygen notification.
Great. Just fucking great. Of course I have to be reminded that I can also die from asphyxiation. Whichever comes first, just for good measure, right? Fuck. Okay, we're here. I don't know how, but we somehow made it. I just need to rotate the front, like so, and take the picture. The expedition ultimately raised more questions than answers. The satellite images showed pieces of the SM-13 scattered all over the bottom of the trench, as though it had been torn apart by some huge beast. The wreckage cannot be reached at this time. No photographs have been recovered. The stars shine pale as bones. The moon is a lifeless corpse. Its ocean a gaping wound. The universe, what's left of it that is dying. But somewhere in the void, there must be hope. What you just experienced is the only ending that the game has, meaning that when you attempt to take the last picture, you will always get killed by the monster. Therefore, as the end screen is tied to this action, changing the order allows us to explore further than what we would have otherwise. More concretely, there are a bunch of guides online that recommend that you skip the 8th anomaly, seeing as it's not tied to any achievements and is located in the upper section. Doing so would therefore offset the invisible counter, allowing us to take a picture of the one we're missing without getting the end screen. It's also why the achievement is named the way that it is. I'll get more into the game's development and its inner mechanics in a few minutes. For now, I think it's time that we covered the only Easter egg in the game. To be fair, I'm not sure if this qualifies as such. There's a single structure that's hidden in the game which, on closer inspection, unlocks both the final achievement while kickstarting the lore drop that I mentioned previously. If you may recall, most players die at the last point of interest, meaning that they don't get the chance to explore the other 2 open areas found near it. The top right section doesn't contain anything noteworthy, but the one slightly below it does. If you go to the coordinates shown on screen and take a picture, you'll discover the remnants of another submarine, the SM-8. Then, if you type those credentials into the terminal in the back, you'll unlock a hidden data entry. It states that, what most people don't understand is that not all subs are built equal. The SM-8 isn't a burner sub. It really is for the exploring and surveying of blood oceans. If they sent you down in the Iron Lung, they don't give a fuck if you come back. Or if the sub comes back, because it's a pile of garbage and you're a piece of shit. You come back with photos, great. You sit down there and suffocate quietly, even better. But if they send the SM-8 down, one of the scientists is piloting and they all expect them to return. And now, the SM-8 is in the blood ocean in pieces. No, not hit a rock pieces or sprung a leak pieces. It looks like something tore it up. And the weirdest thing is that nobody else seems surprised. They might have found the first planetary life since the rapture, and they're acting like it's not a big deal. I know you're next in line for realization in the Iron Lung, and usually that means you won't be seeing the stars again. But they don't have an SM-8 anymore. They have 3 burner subs and a lot of curiosity about AT5, and maybe that means you have a chance. This revelation is quite interesting because it clarifies a lot while simultaneously confusing us further. There are a lot of keywords that don't mean much to us at the moment, meaning that more research is required before we can fully understand the severity of the correspondence. Let's start with the former. This explains both the state of the U-boat and why we don't have any means of communication with the surface world. The goal was never for us to succeed and bring back the pictures. On the contrary, the organizers wanted us to die, away from sight, so that the reports stated that we perished during the mission. I think? It's never directly stated that it is the case, but it's the only logical conclusion that I could find. The only hint that we get as to why comes from the phrases found in the second half of the second paragraph. It's written that we're next in line for realization. To understand what that means, we'll have to type all the words we don't understand into the search engine and read the results. Here's a summary of the events that led to the beginning of the game. Humans, having flourished on Earth, sought to conquer space itself. They proceeded to create many space stations and starcrafts around Earth before deciding to use their knowledge to terraform adjacent planets. The first off-Earth colony was founded on the Red Planet, Mars. Seen as an unexplored venue brimming with opportunity, its population grew and prospered, surpassing even Earth's populace after a little more than a century. As a result, this led to the creation of the biggest man-made planet station ever built, Eden. As you can imagine, life was pretty good on all fronts. That is, until the quiet rapture happened. Its cause remains a mystery, but the aftermath is anything but. All space stations suddenly lost contact with their respective planets. When they sent ships to investigate, they were greeted by an empty void. All planets, and subsequently the human populations on them, had inexplicably vanished. Even the stars had disappeared, leaving behind only remnants of light, destined to fade further into nothingness with each passing day. Inexplicably, the only unaffected structures were the many space stations and spacecrafts that were floating in orbit during the event. In a moment's notice, mankind went from a thriving society to one on the brink of extinction. They had lost the means to both harvest food and stockpile natural resources, meaning that everything they previously took for granted has now become a luxury. Conflict among the bases rose rapidly, and in that ever-growing chaos, had birthed the main chain of events that would seal humanity's downfall. Eden, the main space station on Mars, called upon its patriotic nature to demand its independence. In retaliation, all 4 space stations and both starcrafts floating in the area where Earth used to be decided to forge an alliance, adopting the name the Consolidation of Iron, or COE as I'm going to refer to them from now on. Politics, fueled by the pressures from global anxiety, became the catalyst of a bloody war. A battle that only lasted 9 days because of the total destruction of Filament Station. It, being the 4th and largest space station of the COE, had its reactors sabotaged by Eden troops, resulting in a critical breach which rendered it both inhospitable and unsalvageable. It's during this moral depression that the COE were forced to face a dilemma. What do you do with your prisoners of war when manpower has become as valuable as everything else in the universe? Enter the conviction realization. Officially, all Martian prisoners would be forced to repay their debts with hard labor. Then, after an unspecified amount of time, they would be promoted, earning both their COE citizenship and their freedom. In reality, however, it was a silent execution masqueraded by social politics. Slaves were wielded inside an iron lung and sent to die in the darkest depths of the 85 moon, which, by the way, has been confirmed to be made out of human blood. Here's another fun fact. The name, the consolidation of iron, comes from the main materials that the bases are made of, iron and steel. It therefore means that they're stripping their homes out of spite just to create the iron lungs. It's crazy to think that, with options literally dwindling right before their eyes, they still decide to seal their fate further by exacting their revenge. With all that in mind, I think that's why the game only has a bad ending. Even if we succeeded in our mission and successfully went topside, we wouldn't have a place to go. The people who sent us wanted us dead, and even if it wasn't the case, we would be joining the few hundreds that were either dying from starvation, sickness, or both. Whichever way you put it, we're a dead man walking. We just don't know it until it's too late. In retrospect, the text that we found on the floor shows the only real option we truly ever had. Staying still would have, most probably, not attracted the beast's attention. Therefore, choosing this option and suffocating is really the only way that we can go on by our own terms, which is really messed up. Although, it does go quite well with the existential dread of the lore. This then leads me to the main problem that I have with this game. If you thought that my summary was very generic and that reading the terminal entries for yourself would actually flesh out the universe, then you'd be sorely disappointed. There are so many things that are left unsaid, like who are we, and what we did to end up as a prisoner of the COE. Were we part of the squad that sabotaged the space station, or were we simply a casualty of war who was at the wrong place at the wrong time? More broadly, what makes the 85 moon so special? If it's the existence of the monster, hence why they chose it for the conviction realization, then a confirmation would be appreciated. For all we know, it could also be the only moon out of 4 where buildings were found below the surface. Do recall the article that appeared after we imputed SM8 into the computer. If they wanted us to come back with the data we garnered, then sending us below with no training or ways to contact the surface goes against this ordeal. If, on the other hand, the goal was to eliminate the driver, then why even bother with the theatrics? It's not like the prisoners can contact anyone from the outside. Actually, the more I think about it, the less everything makes sense to me. Like, if their goal was to make their deaths look accidental, then wouldn't overworking them on the space station have the same effect? The COE could force them to scrap specific sections of the station so that the scientists could use the spoils to create performance subs. On the other hand, I would understand if they saw the excursion as a suicide mission, so sending prisoners to retrieve valuable information would make a lot of sense. After all, their survival depends on whatever they find, so the motive is indeed quite clear. But that also means that there would be a minimum expectation. Wasting resources by sending people below just so they could die completing a fake quest that starving people prepared preemptively just doesn't sit right with me. It also feels even less complete when you factor in the lack of information on both Eden and the other spaceships floating around the space stations. Are the people from Eden also exploring the moons? Are they also sending prisoners in shitty submarines with the expectation that they won't come back? All I'm saying is that, for a game that simulates the horrors of dwelling deep below the ocean's surface, its lore lacks the same volume. That being said, I just want to also acknowledge that I might be wrong in this regard. I had a debate with a buddy recently, and it's because he had the opposite opinion. He thought that it contained enough lore for him to give off its own SCP vibe. Ultimately, I do agree with him to a certain extent. I'm just frustrated because I feel like there's almost just enough to satisfy my curiosity. Almost being the key word here. Still, I can't complain too much as the movie attempts to answer a lot of my burning questions, which I'll get into at the end of the video. Also, here's another fun fact for you. Imagine how disappointed I would have been if I played this game on release because, shocker, the terminal wasn't in the game. It was added in when the 2.0 update was released, meaning that, up until that point, there was no lore to speak of. However, and this might be an even bigger shocker, its lack was intentional. Basically, the dev spent 2 years working on a first-person shooter called Dusk. By the end, he was fed up and wanted to work on something smaller, something that would have a short turnaround, and that would simultaneously rejuvenate his artistic prowess. He then opened his notebook and read through his past entries. That's when he read his notes from a few years prior that he took when he visited an exhibit on the Loch Ness Monster. His idea was having a submarine take x-rays of its surroundings while a monster stalked the player. This is why the game looks and feels the way that it does. It's also why the lore feels more like a detailed summary than something with actual depth. He created an experience where the sound design did the heavy lifting and where everything else was either minimalistically implemented or was suggested by other means. This then leads me to those fun facts I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It's one thing to know that it is a minimalistic experience, and it's another thing to actually see it. Here's the complete map, and here's how we look during the gameplay segment. It therefore means that, well, we're not actually traversing the area with our submarine. Basically, our sub doesn't actually move around the map. The game uses the coordinates on screen to determine, in real time, where we're located on the terrain. As you move, the engine keeps track of your placement and sends signals to the control booth when certain parameters are met, i.e. the proximity warnings found on the dashboard. This therefore also means that the initial descent seen at the very beginning of the game is nothing but a red texture being covered by a rendered polygon. Now, I know what you must be thinking. If the sub isn't actually moving, then how does the monster actually track you? Well, in the strictest sense of the word, it doesn't. The fish is actually a JPEG which appears twice in the whole game. Once behind the weird formation, and once behind the submarine for the iconic ending. That's it. Speaking of the ending phase, it was programmed to move forward in a straight line once the player enters the final coordinates and turns around. Then, once it enters the sub, it triggers the title screen, hiding the fact that it's a picture with no animations of any kind. Here are 2 more fun facts that I found on the creature while researching this video that I'm sure you'll find interesting. First off, the monster that appears in the picture isn't the same that ends the game. For the longest time, the fans speculated on the opposite, but the dev recently confirmed that those are 2 separate entities, meaning that there is more life in there than we first initially thought. The second is the name of the creature itself. Can you guess what the creature is named in the game files? No? It's named the Frog. Honestly, I kind of see it with the placement of the eyes, but I don't know. Angelfish works better if you ask me, and most people online would agree as well from what I could see, but whatever, I guess. Oh, and fun little Easter egg, if you play the secret mission called 5S I Only Say Morning in the retro first-person shooter called Ultra Kill, you'll find the same fish in the blood waters located below a river of blood. Also yes, it's also called Frog in that game as well. Moving on, as I show you some in-game pictures of the terrain, I want to cover the SCP that a lot of fans believed inspired the artist, SCP number 354. Generally speaking, it tells the story of a pool of red liquid that was discovered by chance in northern Canada. Researchers discovered that the liquid has the same consistency as human blood. The soil around it also doesn't really exist in the strictest sense of the word. Dirt mixed with the liquid until there's more soil than liquid, forming what looks like a parameter. More interestingly still, creatures have been spotted coming out of the liquid. However, because of their aggressive attitude, they were rapidly eliminated. As a result, a 20-foot wall of concrete surrounds the pool. A catwalk was added above, allowing armed guards to shoot anything that comes out of it from a safe distance, or, to the very least, that was the plan anyways. If you're interested in reading the article for yourself, you'll find the link in the video description. Also, while you're at it, please like the video if you've enjoyed yourself so far. Maybe subscribe if you think I deserve it. Moving on, there's one last fun fact that I want to cover before I actually start talking about the movie. Did you ever wonder what the submarine actually looks like from the outside? I mean, there's no official art that depicts it, and we never see the exterior, so it kinda makes you curious, doesn't it? Well, the answer can be found in the most unexpected place imaginable, the Steam Point Shop. If you head there and examine the background category, you'll find one that depicts the submarine lighting its way forward with the camera. This, for the longest time, was the only hint we had of its design until Markiplier reached out to the dev to work on the movie adaptation. They then ended up with the following design, found on the thumbnail of the movie's official website. Speaking of Markiplier's masterpiece, I want to end this video by talking about how faithful the movie is to its source material. Mind you, this isn't meant as a replacement for the movie. I mainly just want to talk about the similarities before both art forms, so if you don't want spoilers or you just don't care for it, I bid you an amazing day, and I hope that I'll see you in the next video. Also, if you don't want spoilers but you do want my opinion on the movie, I did release a spoiler-free review from the movie when I went to see it in theaters, so that option is also available to you. For the rest of us, I want to start by stating that what impressed me the most was the fact that everything, and I do mean everything, ended up in the movie. The interior of the U-boat is almost identical. Its structure is a one-to-one replica of its source material, with the pipes and metal beams soldered together to create the outer walls. The camera projector in the back works exactly the same way, and even the highlighted button makes a return. Honestly, it would take a few minutes to mention everything, so I'll skip ahead and talk about the only visual distinction that was made between both art forms: the controls for the submarine. At their core, they function exactly the same way, with Markiplier's character named Simon having to blindly follow a map by changing the variables on the control panel. Then, when he gets near an obstacle, the same beeping icon warns him of the danger. The difference comes from his visual presentation. Gone are the integrated arrows that popped out from the dashboard, and instead, they were replaced by levers that Simon needs to interact with. Obviously, the change was done to serve the medium. The buttons work well in a gaming setting, but aren't intuitive in real life. They also wouldn't be as visually distinct as seeing his hand grip the controls. Overall, incredible work was done making the sub feel authentic and real. However, what surprised me the most was how the team was able to integrate every single event into the movie. From the fire standing in the back, to the fish appearing in the background of a picture, everything was recreated masterfully in the movie. One event that was contextually changed, but plays out the same as in the video game, would be when the player discovers the SM-1 sub. I honestly don't know how you're supposed to figure it out in the game, but the beam of light is the remnant of another submarine. When it got destroyed, it somehow became an anomaly that teleports you outside the area. Well, in the movie, Simon makes a plea for his life to an unknown entity. He strikes a deal with it so that, in turn, would save his life and bring him topside. This therefore led him to the aforementioned anomaly, which proceeds to teleport him near the starting position. As you can see, the end result is practically the same. It's the context that gives it another meaning. Instead of it being an unexpected event that distorts the environment, it acts more like an amplifier for Simon's hallucinations. The voices in his head get louder and more demanding as he gets near it. It's also suggested that it has something to do with the quiet rapture or the creation of the blood oceans. Moments like this are numerous in the movie. Markiplier and his team looked at ways they could strengthen the narrative without deviating from the source. The movie is therefore filled with details that don't exist in the video game but make a lot of sense in retrospect. Simon, being one of the soldiers that sabotaged Filament Station, is a good starting point to develop his character. Through the movie's dialogue and its rare use of flashbacks, we get glimpses of the life that led him to his current predicament. It makes him relatable while helping us sympathize with him. None of that can be found in the video game because its inclusion wasn't necessary. We're playing as ourselves, so our mind fills in the blanks at every turn. But as we're now watching a character go through the traumas of AT5, that change of perspective opens up new possibilities. The entity is yet another addition that adds so much to the universe's lore. Having the solar system disappear without a trace is already a solid step towards Lovecraftian horror. with the movie going one step further by making the creature and subsequently the blood a living eldritch entity with unknown capabilities. It drastically ups the stakes while attempting to suggest a potential cause for the quiet rapture. This reveal also leaks into the video game, explaining things like why the oxygen meter can't kill us and why the frog doesn't pulverize us earlier in the experience. It watches over us while keeping us alive until it knows that we're about to exit its domain. Honestly, I can't go on, but I won't. I would much rather that you rewatch the movie now that the game is fresh in your mind. Thank you so much, Markiplier, for making an amazing movie. It's really astonishing that you were able to create something so faithfully while pushing the lore further in all the right ways. You and your team really deserve the praise in the same way that David, the dev behind the original experience, deserves to be commemorated for making such a memorable masterpiece. If you feel like this video did both justice, please like and subscribe. It may not be much for you, but it does really mean the world to me, seeing as YouTube uses those gestures as a sign to keep promoting the project. Speaking of which, next up will be my Dissecting the Walk video on one of my favorite games of all time, Alyssa. It's a first-person style survival horror game that takes clear inspirations from Resident Evil and Alice in Wonderland. This will then be followed up by a complete analysis of the seriously underappreciated Liza P video game. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day.